10 to begin our study. We're using the title, An Invincible Saint. 1 John 1:8-10. If we claim to be without sin, we deceive ourselves and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. If we claim we have not sinned, we make him out to be a liar, and his word has no place in our lives. 3 conditional clauses open the message to the church of the last surviving member of the original 12. He's about 90 years old by now, and the one thing John wants the believers to understand is that walking in the light with Jesus requires dealing with the sin problem. And we cannot do so by denying that the problem exists. Last Sabbath we saw the dilemma of human nature exemplified in the behavior of our first parents. As soon as Adam and Eve became sinners, they covered themselves from each other and hid themselves from God. And when God called them out of hiding and confronted them face to face, they continued the evasion through finger pointing and blaming. And we see a reflection of ourselves and our nature. This is our pathology as fallen creatures. We all wear masks that we cannot lay aside. We see ourselves and each other through these masks so that we do not know who we really are. Yet none of our evasions can truly help us with the one problem we must solve, the sin problem. And all our dodging and eluding only makes the problem worse. We've invented all kinds of ways over the generations to avoid confronting ourselves in sin, but they are all forms of denial. They are simply different ways of saying that we have not sinned. There's no way to solve the sin problem. God has warned us through the Old Testament prophet of the curse that comes through self-justification. It's like shooting yourself in the foot. It only adds sin to sin, and further, it brings us under divine condemnation. God hates nothing more than the spirit of self-justification. Here's what he says in Jeremiah 2:35. You say, I am innocent. He is not angry with me. But I will pass judgment on you because you say, I have not sinned. We turn against God, our only helper, when we try to claim that we have no sin. I read a story this week of an artist attempted suicide you will never hear about. An 84-year-old man shot himself 5 times in the head and survived. He shot himself once in the stomach also. When the police found him, not only was he alive, he was conscious. He couldn't speak until he signaled them what had happened. They took him to the hospital, and he's actually recovering from 6 self-inflicted wounds. How did he survive? Well, they examined the gun. It was a very old gun, and the ammunition was not potent. The gunpowder didn't explode with the usual power that would normally occur, and so the bullets were not lethal. Now he has to face charges of attempted suicide. When we try to justify ourselves, it's just like that, impotent gunpowder. They do not explode sin, and they only make matters worse. There is a better way, though it does not feel like it to us. This is a case in which we cannot trust our feelings. Facing our sin, instead of avoiding it or eluding it, is actually painful, and we may not be able to do so without tears, but it is a blessing in disguise. It's a negative that leads to a positive. Look at this from Christ's Object Lessons 158. We must know our real condition, or we shall not feel our need of Christ's help. We must understand our danger, or we shall not flee to the refuge. We must feel the pain of our wounds, place for us to run towards the pain. It's the wound that brings healing. It's the danger that gives refuge. And it is so simple as to be profound. If we confess our sins. I want to analyze this confession to which we are called. First, let's look at a simple definition of the term. Confession. A formal statement admitting that one is guilty of a crime. It is an act of verbal acknowledgement, a self-accusation, confession. God requires us to name our sins before Him in an attitude of regret and submission. Confession must cover the conscious life, or we cannot be disciples of Jesus Christ. The word in the original is homologeo. It means to acknowledge or to admit. But literally the word means to say the same thing. This implies relationship. If confession is acknowledgement, then who is being acknowledged? If it is saying the same thing, then whose statement is being affirmed? How exactly does confession work in the believer's life? Well, come back with me to Romans chapter 2. There's a parenthetic statement in the middle of Paul's argument on the righteousness of God that reveals something critical about our nature. Romans 2, and this is 14 and 15. Indeed, when Gentiles who do not have the law do by nature things required by the law, they are a law for themselves, even though they do not have the law. Since they show that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts, their consciences also bearing witness, and their thoughts now accusing them, now even defending them. Paul is describing an experience common to all humanity, not just to Gentiles. There is a natural moral sense that we all possess as beings made in the image of God. An implicit ethical standard built into human nature. It exists in every culture and in every normal person. It is the inward knowledge that some things are wrong in themselves and some things are right. It is conscious and functions as an inner moral compass. When we do things against conscience, we experience feelings of guilt and remorse. And when our actions conform to our convictions, we have a sense of integrity and rectitude. And the closer we live to Christ and learn to obey His voice, the stronger this inner guiding force becomes. Conscience. But we must not think of it as something automatic, as though our brains were machines. Conscience serves as the unique conduit to God that marks human nature. The connection by which God influences us at all times. And God is always seeking to speak to us all the time. Therefore, it is relational, not mechanical. Something between our Creator and us. Isaiah describes it in relational terms. Isaiah 30:21. Your own ears will hear it. Right behind you, a voice will say, this is the way you should go, whether to the right or to the left. It is a voice of God's Spirit speaking to us through the inner witness of our spirit, guiding us on the path of life. And we are meant to always obey this voice. Always. God has not left us on our own. He is present if we will only train ourselves to listen to Him. This explains our New Testament word, our relational word, homologeo, to say the same thing. It is the voice of God that convicts us in sin. And confession means we agree with God. So when I'm caught in a lie, God speaks to me through conscience and says, John, you just told a lie. And when I confess, I say the same thing. Yes, Lord, I just told a lie. I admit it. Please forgive me. No excuses, no rationalization. That's true confession. Say the same